welcome to the podcast Atalaku. I am your host, Claudel, and in this very first episode, I want to accomplish two things. The first one is just introduce myself, get for you to know me, where I'm coming from, what's my story, and the goal number two will be to understand this podcast. Where is it coming from? What's the idea? What's going to be the format? Eventually, what do I want to accomplish to this podcast? So, about me, who am I? Who is Claudel Kamgon? I'm an almost 30 years old man, Cameroonian by birth, a little bit French by education, a little bit Brazilian by adoption, and entrepreneurially American. So all in all, I'm resiliently African. I'm speaking to you right now from the state of New Jersey in the United States of America. I'm going to explain how did I get there. So let me trace back the life events that brought me here today. And by the way, today is June 10th, 2019. So I was born in Yaoundé, the political capital of the beautiful country of Cameroon in Central Africa. I went to a middle school named Collège de la Retraite, a religious Catholic middle school. And I went to a high school, to Collège François-Xavier Vogt, Catholic as well. After high school, my baccalaureate in my pocket, I left for France at the age of 15. Yes, I was done with high school at 15. Indeed, I used to be very smart. So in 2005, I'm about to spend my first 2 years in France in a small town named Grenoble. Beautiful mountainy city close to Lyon in the south of France. I was studying computer science. Very shy back then, not sure what to do, how to behave in that new culture of mine. So indeed, despite French being my mother tongue, I was facing new country, new culture, new people, new relationships. So imagine for a 15-year-old kid getting into first year of university. First of all, I was very young, but also everything around me was new. So it was definitely a frightening experience. So in 2007, 2 years after my first university years at Grenoble, I left for Paris for a couple of reasons. The first one was my older brother lived in Paris. So from my African parents' point of view, of course, it was better for me to be with my older brother who would be able to teach me everything about life and obviously make sure I don't do anything stupid, So reporting back to parents anything I could have done that was going against the education we received, of course. And the other reason for moving to Paris was strictly personal. Paris is just busier than much more exciting city than Grenoble. A lot of my high school friends from Cameroon were moving to Paris as well. So I missed them, wanted to catch up, and wanted to make sure that exploring the beautiful city of Paris will be with people that I liked and loved since I was in high school. So that move to Paris made sense. So I spent the rest of my university life in Paris, where I built numerous long-time friendships, became a lot less shy thanks to Paris' different sceneries and, diversity of people, diversity of thoughts. But more on that later on the subsequent episode. So move from Grenoble to Paris, switch universities, then what? Well, my undergraduate life at the university was over. I joined a tech consulting company as a software developer, a programmer, if you will. It was an interesting job, learned a lot, but a couple of years into it, we are now in 2013. Things are going well at work. I was being promoted basically every year, had the best boss I could ever ask for. The work was challenging, my colleagues was fun. But I don't know, for some reason it wasn't enough. I can do my job very well, very fast, with reliable, high quality, and the praise and congratulations from my colleague just add something to my thoughts. Like, wow, I can do better. I didn't feel as if I was killing myself at work. I wanted to make sure I did a good job, but for some reason, I did not feel as if I was going the extra mile. So I felt, hey, if me doing this is already that good, I'm getting promoted every year, I'm getting so many congratulations all the times, then I can do better, aim higher. So I thought about what type of skills I was lacking, and business skills were obvious. I had a computer science education, so I could tell you everything about tech architecture, software development, but building a software is just not enough, right? I had no idea about how to sell the software, how to market it, how to deal with finances, how to run a budget. So how do I solve that? Did a lot of research, and business school seemed to be the answer. 2-year intense program, learning a lot about the biggest company, how they get to where they are today, as well as leadership classes on how to manage and motivate people. So that brings us to mid-2015. I'm leaving Paris for the beautiful city of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, in America, to start my business school experience. I spent very amazing 2 transformative years traveling everywhere in Latin America, Asia, Europe, and a lot of countries in Africa. And I knew that was kind of funny because I was born in Cameroon. I grew up in Cameroon until 15, right? But it's only when I reach Pennsylvania 25 years later that I get to discover the beautiful countries of Rwanda, Mozambique, Ghana, which are our neighbors. So it's very, very interesting. But again, more on that later. So work-wise, since I joined the United States, I discovered a fascinating world of investment banking thanks to an internship at JP Morgan in New York. I discovered strategy consulting through McKinsey & Company, again, still based out of New York. And most recently, blockchain at a company named Consensus. So advising on strategy and implementation of different governments across the world. Again, more on that later. So that's it about me. You know where I'm from, you know where I've been. Now let's talk about where I'm going and why I'm creating this podcast. For the past couple of years, just like many of you, I've spent a lot of time online in my spare time, either browsing the web, fighting myself with 40 open tabs in my browser, scrolling for 15 minutes to find a video or movie to watch on YouTube, etc. You know what it is. So 2 things struck me from that time online. The first one was the crucial lack of representation in the Africa online space. There are still overall way too few African content creators. And don't get me wrong, the number is increasing drastically, but it still remains a very few percentage of the serious or entertainment online life. The second thing that struck me was that a lot of Africa online representation is negative. Either through serious documentaries or people, it is still mind-blowing how little the world knows about us, right? Africa and Africans. The continent is still unfortunately mostly seen as dangerous and doomed. So I figured that's a problem, and I could be part of solving those 2 issues. Bring my contribution to improving the image the world have of us worldwide, as well as putting forward our African brothers and sisters, making us proud. So that's the idea, and this podcast is the first step in its implementation. Since most cultures in Africa are oral and not written, it made sense for me to go through a podcast where I can actually talk and have people talk instead of writing. So each episode of this podcast will be from 30 minutes to about an hour, and it will be a conversation with a fellow African with a couple of objectives in mind. Getting to know them. So who are they? Who are those African brothers and sisters making us proud? What are they doing? Where did they grow up? How did they grow up? What type of education do they get? And by education, I just don't mean going to school, right? The type of home where they grew up, the type of value that they have, and most importantly, the struggles that they've been through. Right? I think we sometimes have that image that, when someone succeeds, you have to be lucky or things were easy for you. So I think it's going to be interesting to, while talking to those people, just see the difficulties that they've been through, either at home, either at work, if they left Africa for any reason, what type of struggle they had in France, Belgium, the United States, and learn from that. After getting to know them, one question that I like to ask will be what it means for them to be African. So no matter where you're from, Nigeria, Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, what does it mean for them to be African? Another problem is, what is a problem that exists in Africa right now that they would love to solve or help solving? So I know each of us, we are very critical of our own country and continent, right? We should do this better. We're not good at this. We suck at that. But, what type of problem specifically do we see and how can we help solve that? That I think will be interesting to seeing, okay, how can we switch from always or most of the time be criticizing to actually say, hey, that thing doesn't work and this is how I think we should solve it and this is how I want to solve it. So this is about it. Each episode, again, half an hour to 1 hour, talking to people, Africans, getting to know them, what they're doing, what it means for them to be African, and what's a problem they can solve. You can expect about an episode per week with different themes, of course, around education, around private life, about relationships, about culture, music, cinema. So depending on who I will be interviewing, we'll of course spend a lot more time on a specific topic. So that's it for our first episode. But before signing off, a quick brief on the name of the podcast, Atalaku. Atalaku is a popular word in French Africa coming from Congo, with origins from the rumba's music style. Atalaku means change a lot during the previous years, and nowadays, basically, Atalaku means praising. So me giving an Atalaku to Lina, for instance, basically means me praising Lina for something that she did. So if you've been to a party, any African party, at some point, there's always a circle with someone dancing in the circles and people shouting his name and even maybe sometimes throwing money at him or her. So that means Atalaku because that someone is dancing well and is making, Africa proud somehow. So that's the meaning behind the word Atalaku. That's it then for our first episode. I hope you have a better idea of who I am and what this podcast is all about. We'll have different episodes in French, English, or Portuguese. 3 official languages on Africa that I'm lucky to be fluent in. So if you like what you're hearing so far, please make sure to subscribe to make sure you don't miss any upcoming episode. And make sure to share with your colleagues, friends, family, anyone else around you curious to hear and know more about Africa. So thank you for listening. Atalaku to you, and see you very soon.